원서 있는 고양이 제니예요. 오늘은 해리포터 1권 챕터 10 173쪽 읽어보도록 할게요. 냥! Follow me, stood together first years. No need to fear the truth if you follow my orders. Stay close behind me now. Make me your friend secure through. Excuse me, I'm a prefect. How could a Stroll get in? Harry asked as they climbed the stairs. Don't ask me. They're supposed to be very, very stupid, said Ron. Maybe Peeves getting the Halloween joke. They passed different groups of people hurrying different directions. As they jostled their little crowd of confused Hufflepuffs, Harry suddenly grabbed Ron's arm. I just thought, Hermione! What about her? She doesn't know about the troll. Ron bit his lip. Oh, all right, he snapped. But Percy better not see us. Ducking down, they joined the Hufflepuffs, going the other way, slipped down in the deserted side corridor, and hurried up toward the girls' toilet. They had just turned the corner when they heard quick footsteps behind them. Percy! hissed Ron, pulling Harry behind the large stone griffin. Peering around it, however, they saw not Percy, but Snape. They crossed the corridor and disappeared from view. What's he doing? Harry whispered. Isn't down the dungeon with the rest of the teachers. Search me. Quietly as possible, they crept in the next corridor after Snape's fading footsteps. He's heading for the third floor, Harry said, but Ron held up his hand. Can you smell something? Harry sniffed, and a foul stench with his nostril, mixture of old stocks and the kind of public toilet no one seems to clean. And then they heard it, a low grunting, and the shuffling footfalls of gigantic feet. Ron pointed. At the end of the passage to the left, something huge was moving towards them. They shrank into the shadows and watched as it emerged into a patch of moonlight. It was a horrible sight. 12 feet tall, its skin was a dull granite gray, and its grim lumpy body like a boulder with its small bald hat perched on top like a coconut. It had short legs, thick as tree trunks, its flat, horny feet. The smell coming from it was incredible. It was holding a huge wooden club which dragged under the floor because its arm was so long. The troll stopped next to a doorway and peered inside. It waggled its long ears, making up its tiny mind, then slowed slowly into the room. The key is on the lock, Harry muttered. We could lock it in. Good idea, said Ron nervously. They edged toward the open door, mouths dry, praying the troll wasn't about to come out of it. With one grim lift, Harry managed to grab the key, slam the door, and lock it. Yes! Flushed with the victory, they started to run back up the passage, but as they reached the corner, they heard something that made their hearts stop. A high, pitch-black scream, and it was coming from the chamber they just chained up. Oh no, said Ron, pale as the bloody baron. It's the girls' toilets, Harry gasped. Hermione, they said together. It was the last thing they wanted to do, but what choice did they have? Wheeling around, they sprinted back to the door and turned the key, fumbling in their panic. Harry pulled the door open. They ran inside. Hermione Granger was shrinking against the wall at opposite, looking as if about to faint. The troll was advancing on her, knocking the sinks of the walls at his went. Confuse it, Harry said desperately to Ron, and seizing a tap, he threw it as hard as he could against the wall. The troll stopped a few feet from Hermione. It lumbered around, blinking stupidly to see what had made the noise. Its mean little eyes saw Harry. It hesitated and made for him instead, lifting its club as it went. "Oi, pea-brain!" yelled Ron from the other side of the chamber, and he threw a metal pipe at it. The troll didn't even seem to notice the pipe hitting his shoulder, but it heard a yell and paused again, turning its ugly snout to Ron instead, giving Harry time to run around it. "Come on, run, run!" Harry yelled at Hermione, trying to pull her to the door, but she couldn't move. She was still flat against the wall, her mouth open with terror. The shouting and the echoes seemed to be driving the troll berserk. It roared again and started toward the Ron, who was nearest and no way to escape. Harry then did something that was both very brave and very stupid. He took a great running jump and managed to fasten his arms around the troll's neck from behind. The troll couldn't feel Harry hanging there, but even the troll will notice if he stuck along the wood of his nose, and Harry's wand had still been in his hand when he jumped. It had gone straight up one of the troll's nostrils. Howling with pain, the troll twisted and flailed its club, with Harry clinging on for dear life. Any second, the troll was going to rip him off or catch him a terrible blow of the club. Hermione had sunk to the floor in fright. Ron pulled out his own wand, not knowing what it was going to do. He heard himself cry the first spell that came into his head. "Wingardium Leviosa!" The club flew suddenly out of the troll's hand, rose high up into the air, turned slowly over, and dropped with a sickening crack onto its owner's head. The troll swayed on the spot, and then fell flat on his face with a thud that made the whole room tremble. Harry got to his feet, shaking out of breath. Ron was standing there with the wand still raised, staring at what he had done. It was Hermione who spoke first. "Is it dead?" "I don't think so," said Harry. "I think it's just been knocked out." He bent down and pulled his wand out of the troll's nose. It was covered in what looked like lummy gray goo. "Ugh! Troll boogies!" He wiped it on the troll's trousers. A sudden slamming and loud spooksucks made a few of them look up. They hadn't realized what the wreck had been them making. Of course, someone downstairs would have heard the crashes and the troll's roars. A moment later, Professor McGonagall had come bursting into the room, closely followed by his mate, with Quirrell picking up the rear. Quirrell took one look at the troll with a faint whimper and sat quickly down on the toilet, clutching his heart. Snape bent over the troll. Professor McGonagall was looking at Ron and Harry. Harry had never seen her look so angry. Her lips were white. Hopes of winning 50 points were given, though faded quickly from Harry's mind. "What on earth were you thinking of?" said Professor McGonagall with cold fury in her voice. Harry looked at Ron, who was still standing with his wand in the air. "You're lucky you weren't killed. Why aren't you in your dormitory?" Snape gave her a swift, piercing look. Harry looked at the floor. He wished Ron would put his wand down. And the small voice came out of the shadow. Please, Professor McGonagall. They were looking for me. Miss Granger! Hermione had managed to get her to fit at last. I looked for the troll because I thought I could deal with them my own, because I know the rest about them. Ron dropped his wand. Hermione Granger telling a downright lie to the teacher? If they haven't found it by now, Harry stuck his nose and and Ron looked it out at their own club. They didn't have the time or affection that anyone was to finish it off in Ive. Harry and Ron tried to look as though this story wasn't new to them. Well, in that case, said Professor McGonagall, staring at the three of them. Miss Granger, you foolish girl! How could you think of checking the Mount of Troll on your own? Hermione hung her head. Harry was speechless. Hermione was the last person to do anything against the rules, and here she was pretending she had to get them out of trouble. It was as if Snape had started on the sweets. Miss Granger, 5 points will be taken from Gryffindor for this, said Professor McGonagall. I'm very disappointed in you. If you're not harder at all, Gryffindor Tower. Students are finishing their feast in their houses. Hermione laughed. Professor McGonagall turned to Harry and Ron. Well, I still say you were lucky, but don't many of those first year get a full-grown manted troll? You each win Gryffindor 5 points. Professor Dumbledore, Vigor, and Fortivus, you may go. They hurried out of the chamber and didn't speak until they climbed 2 floors up. It was a relief to be away from the room with the troll quite a bit of anything else. We should have gone to 10 points, Ron grumbled. 5, you mean, once you stake on the Hermione's. Good avert to us trouble I like, admitted. Mind you, with this saber. And immediately Safety will lock the thing in with her, Harry reminded him. They were short of the fat lady. Pig's not, said, and they entered. The common room was packed and noisy. Everyone was eating the food on the Vincent top. Hermione, however, stood alone by the door waiting for them. There was a very embarrassed pause. Then, none of them looking at each other, they all said thanks and hurried to get place. For from that moment on, Hermione Granger became their friend. There are some things you can't share without ending up liking each other, and knocking at the 12th mantle troll is one of them. Thank you for listening. Bye!